Well, hello there. Let's go ahead and set this up so that we can render this scene. All right. So the first thing you have to do is you have to open up the render settings menu. Make sure you've got your scene set. You're oriented to a window and an angle that you want, what you want to render. I can preview this quickly by taking a look and pressing the play button and seeing what it's going to look like. Um, and everything's looking pretty good here. I'm going to render 300 frames. So, because of the size of my resolution on my scale here, the render setup menu is actually hidden. So you have to mouse over this top bar anywhere and push down the middle mouse button to get that hand and pull the whole menu over. Now you can see the render setup button. Click the render setup button and open up the render setup. And there we go. There's the render setup button. First thing we need to do here, I'll give myself a little more room so I can see more of this thing. Change the renderer to the scanline renderer. That's the basic renderer. It's going to do just fine for you, the scanline renderer. And then you need to tell it, by default, it's going to be set to single, but you need to tell it to render the active time segment. In this case, I've got this set up to run 300 frames. So set it to run the active time segment. Then moving down here, output size. Set it to HDTV video and whatever size they tell you. If I remember right, when we were at the regional, I think it was 1920 by 1080, which is what they asked for. Make sure you select the correct size. If it's not one of these buttons, you can manually set that size right here in both of these fields. Then we're scrolling down. The last thing you have to do is you have to tell it where to save the render output. It needs to know where to save it. And this will be empty initially, but when you click on this button right here, Files, and strongly recommend that, by default, 3ds Max is going to go and stick this inside of 3ds Max 2023, because that's the software you're using, and in the render output folder. So you'll know exactly where to go find this thing. And you'll need to give it a name. My first time I did this, I gave it, UFO scene take 1. Let me go ahead and call this UFO scene take 2, giving it a new name. And then the file type. We're going to set the file type to AVI. AVI. So that's an audio video file. So set the file type to AVI. So when you got the files named, got the file type, you're going to get it stored right in the render output folder, which is, you can see the path right here. It's in Documents, 3ds Max 2023, render output. And we'll hit the save button. And then you get the compression set up. And we're just going to use the default DV encoder. And we're going to click OK. And now that we've got everything set up, you'll notice down here, render output now has got save files checked. And you're going to have a nice address filled in right here, the location where this is going to get saved. And then all the rest of these settings are just fine. All you have left to do now is just hit the render button and wait, because it's going to take a while. If you're rendering a 10-second animation, that's 300 frames. And as you know, it's going to take a little while. These are going pretty quick here, but each of these frames are taking a few seconds, and a few seconds times 300 turns out to be quite a few minutes. So while this is rendering, I'm going to go ahead and temporarily pause the video. And let me get those controls back up here. Hit the old pause button. Well, that took the better part of, I think, 10 minutes to render those 300 frames. When the render's done, you can go ahead and close that render window, and even close this window, and then go dig into your drive, your hard drive. Go to Documents, 3ds Max 2023, and then down there in Render Output, you'll find your files now saved down there in Render Output. Let's go take a look at this and see how this turned out. Yeah, not looking half bad. Got a little UFO flying there. Abduction light coming down. Pretty good. I like it. All right. So that's how you render an animation. Good luck. I know you're going to do just fine.